it was me wanting to kind of shine a light on perhaps something that's been ignored. And I, it kind of occurred to me a couple years ago that people my age and even older people than me in their sort of late 50s were writing, especially in the thriller field, were still writing about people that were in their 40s as the main characters. And of course, I think 40s is probably the sweet spot, especially for sort of psychological thrillers, because the stakes can be a bit high because you're perhaps, you're married with little children. But I kind of felt like, well, if people in their 50s aren't writing about people in their 50s, then who's actually covering this incredibly rich decade, particularly for women with menopause and the things that change, but also for men as well. I think it's a really interesting time of life. And it's not just because I'm at that time of life myself. I always try and write kind of things that I feel neglected. And it just so happens, as I said, I think the 50s are neglected. And a friend of mine was telling me how it felt to have an empty nest. And it was such a poignant, honest conversation about the loss of her children moving out. I thought, there's a story in that, and I want to write that. So that kickstarted my new story, and it all kind of exploded from there.
Would you introduce us to the lead characters?
Yes, yeah. The main character is called Gabby, and she's in her 50s, and she's an empty nester, and she's just coming to terms with that. And the thing that kickstarts the story off is that she realizes that she absolutely hates her husband. Because of course she has to, otherwise there'd be no drama. And Ellis is a young 30-year-old. She is the younger woman of the title, and Ellis remains quite a mystery throughout the book. I can't tell you too much about her because that's the whole point, is that she's this enigmatic young woman, but that is definitely very empowered in a way that Gabby and my generation aren't, as I would describe as a bit more naive and softer generation than this harder, young, empowered woman. And all the conflict comes from their meeting at the start. Well, it's normally inspired by, quite often by real places that I then turn into fictional settings. So I did have like a kind of a seafront bar in mind. And then I kind of invented what I wanted the seafront bar to look like, and I had Gabby drinking way too many of these cocktails, and obviously because it's a book about middle age, they're drinking these cocktails that are called Viagra. That's the special of the evening. So they're drinking these bright blue, really horrible, potent cocktails. And then because she's had too much to drink, she sits outside in a deck chair. And I don't know if you call them deck chairs in the States, do you? And it's kind of an English thing, but they're kind of wooden canvas seats. She's sitting there slumped down, looking at the sea, and she's even pulled a blanket over her legs. And she's looking out, feeling philosophical, and suddenly gets a little tap on her shoulder. And there's this really stunning 30-year-old, very toned, beautiful girl that asks if she can join her. And Gabby is just like completely shocked, because the first thing she thinks is that women this age never talk to me. They've got nothing that they want from me. And anyway, and from that conversation, she then starts telling Ellis she feels she can talk to this young woman, probably because she feels so confident and powerful. And Gabby starts telling her about how she hates her husband, and then utters the awful words that she'd be better off if her husband were dead. It's funny because my mum recently said to me, at some point you're going to have to make it clear that you're happily married. And I said, it's not about me, mum. That's the whole point, is that I can. But yeah, I mean, you have to become that character. And actually, I think there's a little bit of an author in every single character that they create. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. So yes, there's a little bit of Gabby in me, and there's a little bit of Ellis in me as well, the younger one. But I kind of decided that I wanted this book because Good Husbands was so weighty and hard to write. I wanted this one to be more fun, and I'm delighted that a lot of the readers, the early reviews, are describing it as fun, because I like to be able to still get across my points that I'm making, but it should be enjoyable. And I had a lot of fun with Gabby waking up the next morning with a hangover and thinking like, what the hell did I say last night?